We may be related.
Everybody is somewhere.
This is a call meeting by the mayor for the council to have a discussion about hiring a new city manager and a city of Thomasville utility superintendent. As we all know, that the former city manager has resigned, and therefore we're moving forward with his replacement. So, Ms. McDonald, you want to get started as to what our process could be?
The general process for recruitment of a city employee on any level is that we would first get the requisition approved with an established salary range. Once that's approved, we advertise it internally 3 days for the benefit of city employees who have an interest in applying. If there are candidates, we'll give them an opportunity to interview for the position. If we feel that we need to go out of the city from that point, then we will establish outside recruitment sources for that. In this particular case, we would probably use the Georgia Municipal Association, which has a tie-in to the Georgia Local Government Personnel Association for recruitment, the International City and County Management Association. There could be some other, there are some other newspapers that will give us a tie-in to things like Monster, Career Builders, Indeed. You can also use LinkedIn. There are different resources, Carl Vinson Institute of Government, that we can use to advertise, for the position. Generally speaking, we'll advertise for this executive level type of position for about typically 30 days. That gives everyone an opportunity to respond. Human Resources has an online portal so that anybody who's interested in applying for the job will go to the online portal, complete our application, and they can provide attachments for any kind of certifications, degree, etc. Now, we do verify once they come in here that the degrees or anything else that they have submitted are in fact valid. Following that, we'll usually go through with the online portal. It will let us know who's qualified and non-qualified, although we do go through every application. So if we're asking for 10 years experience and somebody has 3 years experience, then it would make a note and say would be qualified based on that. Or if we're asking for a bachelor's degree and the person did not have that, then it would say unqualified. But we can still go back through and look at everybody's application. Once we do that, what I've done in the past, for example, for the last executive management position we did, I think in 2012 for fire chief, I'll go through those things, and usually there's going to be a list of things that we're looking for. And as an example, for fire chief, we were looking at MPQ ratings and some ISO and square miles and so forth for the type of department they had. And I'll go and put all that on a spreadsheet, and so we can take a look at that and see if they have the criteria that we're looking for. In that particular instance, we used a board of some local fire chiefs to take a look at all the applicants, and then again taking a look at the ones that we put on the spreadsheet. And from there, they had, because that was their area of expertise, they were able to go back through and say, okay, here are the ones we want to target for a preliminary interview. At that point, they will usually, I'll at least have a list of questions. It could be as many as 10 or more. Make a phone call to the candidates to kind of delve a little bit more into their backgrounds to see what their interests are and so forth. And then from that, I can kind of give the ones who seem to have more particular interests or not. As an example, doing those preliminary interviews, it's not uncommon for if I call somebody and say, hello, you applied for this job in the city of Thomasville, and they go, oh yeah, where's Thomasville? Oh yeah, I've applied for a lot of jobs, so now how much you all pay? That type of thing. I had oversight for the recruitment of an executive director last year for Vashti. Their board wanted somebody other than Vashti to have oversight for it, and I worked with the board on that. And that's the same type of process we used for that. So once we get some answers on preliminary questions, then we can bring that back and find out who we'd like to have a interview with, either by group by phone or video conferencing. Once we get through that part, then we'll look at inviting the candidate to come to Thomasville. If they're married, we'll usually invite the spouse at our expense to come here while we're interviewing the spouse. While they're interviewing the candidate, the spouse is usually taken around, looking at the city, looking at real estate. They will have interest in schools, hospitals, etc. We do that, and we also have like a full couple of days, at least one or 2 days with the candidate to give them an overview of Thomasville, so that when they, if they're seriously considering us, they'll have some. They can make an informed decision about that. Once they go back, there's some other discussion. There will be in-depth reference checking. In some cases, we will send someone, say with the fire chief, we sent someone to South Carolina to, look at personnel files, do some more interviews. We'll do a complete background check, verify all certifications, qualifications that they presented to us, and then look at making a final decision. The total time that this typically takes can be 4 to 6 months to completion, because you allow for the days to advertise, you have to allow for times for preliminary interviews, first or secondary interviews, and then if that person is employed, typically for an executive level position, they're going to want to give at least a month's notice, and then we will assist them with relocating. We have tended to provide some sort of temporary housing if they need to stay at an apartment or something for some point of time, some period of time, while they're looking to buy a house or rent a house. But we kind of get together a format to kind of help them so we can ease that in so they can make it a pretty easy transition.